guys, welcome back to the Signal PopCast. My name is Alyssa Shotwell, one of the producers of the Signal PopCast. And today we have a new guest and a familiar voice. Whoever wants to go first.
Hi guys, I'm Emily Wolfe. I'm the audience engagement coordinator for the Signal.
Hello, my name is Shellshear. I'm a reporter for the Signal.
On today's episode, we're going to kind of go through movies that have come out, some trailers, award shows, music news, as well as let you know fun stuff happening in Houston this weekend and then the following weekend. And, of course, more movie stuff at the end, what movies are coming out at the end of the month, and ones you want to catch as they're leaving theaters. So our first topic today is the movie that people have been waiting, how many years, Emily?
14 years.
That's a whole child.
That is a whole child.
And that's The Incredibles. This part of the podcast, honestly, let's just say the next 10 minutes, if you don't want to hear spoilers about Ocean's 8 or Incredibles, skip forward about 10 minutes in. First thoughts on The Incredibles.
You can talk.
It was really great. I saw it just the other day, and, I never really remembered Incredibles as being like my favorite Pixar film as a kid, but I do remember it kind of sticking out and being kind of a notable one for me. I wasn't too, crazy hyped about the new one, but I was excited, and going into it, I kind of just had solid confidence in Pixar. I don't think I've ever seen a bad Pixar movie, at least not in recent memory that I can think of. So I kind of just went in thinking, it would be a good movie, and came out with exactly what I expected. So.
I am a Pixar super fan. Incredibles goes back and forth between Toy Story as my favorite.
Can I give some context for our
yes,
listeners?
Of course.
She has interned at Disney before, and she's going back.
Full
so
disclosure.
I am a Disney Pixar nerd to the extreme.
So this is the word of law. Go on.
Yeah, so I've been waiting for 14 years, and I was crazy hyped. I would randomly start crying just thinking about it coming out. And I will say I was 100% satisfied with the film. I thought, you know what? Thank you. It was a great thing that Pixar did.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not one of my favorite Pixar movies, but like you said, they've never done a bad Pixar, and it is one of the ones that is very visually interesting.
Yeah.
How the characters their proportions and stuff like that.
More than anything, I really appreciated the the pacing of the story and just the way that it went and the way it was told, and I really just liked how. At the end of the day, I feel like a lot of these kind of superhero movies tend to get a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing going on, where it's oh, well, there you go, there's a solution. And this movie really, I think, kind of subverted that in the way that Violet and Dash pick up a lot of the slack toward the end of the movie.
Yeah. So something I was kind of fearful, I will say, going into the movie, I was one of those people that was disappointed when I found out it's going to be a few seconds into the end of the first one, because I felt if they were gonna take that time, that I wasn't necessarily looking for a 14 years later, but I was kind of expecting at least 5 or 6 years. But I soon did not care at all. Once you actually start watching the movie, you don't care. And another thing I was concerned about is I was afraid that they were gonna exploit Edna, because she was a little niche character.
Yeah.
And so she was on so much promotional material. They had a whole, albeit it was great, they had a whole trailer of famous celebrities and fashion icons talking about Edna as if she was a real person.
Yeah, in the Pixar world, it's called matering. Is whenever you take a character that was not the main character in the first, and then in the second film, you just destroy the character by having them too much. And so I was definitely afraid of a matering situation for
That's
Edna.
in reference to Mater from Cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Terminator.
Yeah. We can stop. Anytime.
Okay. Yeah, I was afraid that they would do that, and they didn't. They had her in a reasonable amount of time, definitely more than the first movie, but that's okay because
it made sense.
Yeah, it worked.
Well, there was a good, solid, compelling villain too. I thought the villain was really interesting, and they really did a solid job, I think, of kind of putting that all together. I did suspect pretty early on in the film.
Everyone did.
Her name.
Yeah, exactly. So.
even though she was the villain and we kind of expected it, what I loved is that we expected her brother to be the villain too.
Exactly.
Because he plays the shadiest characters in like Breaking Bad and Better
Yep.
Call Saul.
Yeah.
So his like, I mean, he's been in comedies and stuff and not been a villain. But
Yeah.
when he is in a role where there's going to be a villain, you kind of expect. Is it Michael?
It's Bob Odenkirk.
I don't even know whose name
Yeah.
I was about to say. Bob Odenkirk. When you hear his voice, I'm like, oh, that's probably the bad guy.
Really? It's
Yeah.
funny that you say that because I'm a really long-time kind of fan of Bob Odenkirk, and he's done a lot of comedy more so than anything. But
Yeah.
he did get pretty popular, I would say, mainstream-wise, for sure, through Breaking Bad and some other roles like that. But
That's
he
my
does a
base
lot
for
of
him.
comedy, so I always figured, when I think of Bob Odenkirk, I think of this nice, kind of funny guy. So I don't like to
Yeah.
think of him as like, even when he's Better Call Saul, he's still I guess that's a whole other debate. But I think he's a good person. I think he's a good person in Better Call Saul. I think that he's, trying to help people out that might be put down by an otherwise different system, but that's totally digressing. So
Are you talking about that show where it was like a variety show kind of?
he's done a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite thing that he's done is probably Mr. Show with he did that with David Cross and a couple of other really good
That's what I'm
comedians, and
thinking
yeah,
of.
that's a really, really good, popular, amazing show. He also has a Netflix show with David Cross called With Bob and David. It's a really short sketch comedy series,
It's on
but
my
it's
watch list.
hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
So Incredibles, do you guys think it's a movie that people should wait for?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
Go
no.
see it.
Do go
That's
see
it.
it.
Yeah, get out, go see Incredibles
It's gonna be
2.
one of the biggest films of the year. Definitely probably going to be the biggest animated film of the year. It made 180 million its first weekend. So people are just gonna like assume you've seen it and then just start talking about it in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So go
See
see
it.
it or you'll get spoiled. Like that's kind of where we're at this point.
So next movie that we all saw, Ocean's 8.
Yes.
Why are you saying yes like that?
I was just so I know I'm a big fan of the Ocean's films. I haven't watched the original trilogy from like the 50s or
Sinatra?
60s. I'm not sure when it was made, but yeah, that's Sinatra. But I am a fan of like the George Clooney ones, and so I was really excited that we're gonna get a new one, and it was gonna be all females, and I liked most of the actors doing it, and I was like, yes. And then like it was on. It was a fun film. It was kind of empowering in a way for like women. I don't know if it was for like non-women or
that little 8-year-old girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say that scene was really funny.
But,
I enjoyed that.
yeah, maybe the plot line was like too obvious, but I mean like it's an Ocean's film.
Yeah.
You get what you get. Like I thought it was a really good fun film. We
Yeah.
haven't had one of those this year, I don't think.
I'd never seen any of the Ocean's films before this one, so going into Ocean's 8, I kind of felt the same way. There's a bunch of like badass kind of female actresses taking this thing on. It looks like it'll be a pretty solid heist movie. So going into it, I was pretty excited. I thought it would be solid. I like Rihanna's character a lot. She's probably my favorite character of all of them. But the movie was really solid, like you said. It was a lot of fun. It didn't try to be anything that it wasn't. It didn't go above and beyond, too much. It's just a solid, good old-fashioned heist movie with some really strong, acting and performances, and it was really solid. I really enjoyed it.
So the Ocean's movie, I've seen like one or two of them. I haven't seen a heist movie in theaters in a minute, and I forgot that feeling that like what's gonna
Yeah.
happen? Oh wait, it messed up. So what are they gonna do now?
Yeah.
Like all the planning and be like, ooh that's smart, and then it falling through or not falling through in some way.
Exactly.
I haven't had that like kind of. I don't watch scary movies, so like most of my adrenaline from the movies comes from really good action movies or heist movies, and
Gotcha.
it was really fun. I think it's something you can see like whenever.
Yeah.
But if you like the Ocean's movies, if you like any of the actresses in it, it's worth supporting in theaters. And also, if like a lot of us here really like the movie going experience, you get all of that from this movie.
Yep.
So in the Ocean movies, they're always full of a lot of surprises. Is there anything that you called, like you're like, oh, that's happening, or something that you missed that you're like, how did I
So
miss
I
that?
figured Daphne, I forget her last name in the film,
Yeah.
but I figured her character would have something to do with the heist, and the whole time I was like, when is she going to get in on it? Because I remember seeing her in the trailers sitting on the couches with all of them and like planning it. So I was like, what part does she have in this?
I missed
so
that in the
so the
trailer.
whole time I was looking for her, and I was like, I thought she was part of the heist, like not the person that was being stolen from, you know, and that really kind of threw me for a loop. So for a while I was like, when is this going to get revealed, or were they just trying to misdirect us in the trailer? What's happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of threw me off a little bit, so they got me there.
I mean, it's Ocean's 8, and there were only 7 people excluding Daphne, and so at one point, when she's not gonna like completely spoil everything, but when she keeps like recounting her
testimony.
Yeah, her testimony, she's omitting like this one major role, and I'm like, she's in on it. Like I know, she's got to be somehow involved. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was great. It was so good. It
Yeah.
just makes me like, I want to go watch it again.
I do hope. I'm assuming there's going to be a second and a third, because it goes. Then it would be 8, 9, 10, and then you'd pick up with like the original Ocean's trilogy.
11, yeah.
11, 12, 13. So I'm assuming it's going to be a trilogy if it's set up that way. I would love to see a character like a cameo by Danny Ocean, who is George Clooney, or Rusty. I don't remember his last name, and it's Brad Pitt. That's what I'm really hoping to see in like the next couple ones.
You kind of got my next question.
Oh,
if
sorry.
there's a sequel, what do you want?
I would like to see Rusty and Danny.
I think I wrote that down, like remembering that we had a conversation about it. So yeah.
Also, more Elliot Gould, because big Elliot Gould fan. People are like, Emily, who are you most excited to see in the film? And I was like, Elliot Gould, and they were like, that's wrong, Emily.
As like a visual person, this was my favorite Ocean's movie just because looking at all the dresses. That's such a, like a girly thing to say, but they were in an art museum and they were wearing art, like, and stealing stuff. It was so cool.
I would like to see more celebrity cameos like they did here with the Met Gala.
I don't know if they can do that too much. I feel like the Met Gala was like, if they were ever going to do it in a movie, this is the movie and they did it.
That's true.
Anything else would be like, who's the cameo in the next movie? You know?
I mean, Daphne's like a movie star, so she might be like having lunch with someone, or
I like how they had Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, like just like something like that. Like I don't need like a lot at one point, but like the Dakota Fanning thing, I think that would be really fun to do, like in like the next couple ones.
I like though, like the low key, sometimes not so low key jabs at different things, like about having a woman in all the movie, like as the main cast. And the sequel aspect of it, they did like 3 call-outs, and I was like, yeah, that was so cool. Because it made sense too. It wasn't like forced at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so the kind of last thing in this movie topic we're going to be talking about is a trailer, which is something we normally don't do on the podcast, but somebody I really like is in the trailer, and I think it has could have some positive effects in the current movie fan climate, and that's Welcome to Marwen, an original movie that's coming out this holiday. To kind of give you like just one sentence of what it's about, it's a guy named Mark Hogenkamp. He's a victim of violent assault, and he constructs a miniature World War II village in his yard to help his recovery. He was assaulted by, I don't know if they're Nazis, neo-Nazis, not good people, and it's him getting through it, facing them in trial.
It looks really interesting. It's more or less kind of like, they almost look like clay figures, kind of like
little toy soldiers.
Like toy soldiers almost, yeah, but a little more fleshed out, a little more, like fleshy colored and with like actual painted, features and outfits and everything. But it looks really interesting, and the lead character, I guess, is played by Steve Carell. It reminds me a lot of a movie he did several years ago called Dinner for Schmucks, where he actually like creates these little the little mice characters, and he did that with the mice. So this is kind of similar in a way to that, but this time I guess instead of that, it's more so these characters in Marwen, I guess is the name of the village he sets up. They like, I guess, live there, and you get to see their side of the story, and you kind of see the main characters represented through his own version of himself. He has his own little clay figure that's supposed to represent him, and it seems like a lot of the movie focuses on his journey going through trial and
I think people who are going to be like, that looks so dumb or whatever, I think you need to remember that in the past couple of years, mainly after The Office ended, Steve Carell has taken kind of a different turn in his acting career, and he's doing a lot more, like, serious and more, like, topical roles, and he's a fantastic actor. It's something I didn't recognize when he was doing comedy, and his movies of late have been absolutely incredible. So, I mean, if you're thinking, oh, it's Steve Carell, it looks dumb, whatever, it's gonna be like a dumb comedy, I don't think that way.
It looks like a lot of the comedy is just trying to make light of, like, a terrible situation, because he has, like, PTSD after this attack. Some of the other names that are going to be in it, recognizable names, is actress Leslie Mann.
Love her.
She's in a lot of comedy movies. It looks like she's, like, the comedy relief as a person that's trying to help him. And she's also represented as a doll. And then Janelle Monáe is another character in the...
Do you like Janelle Monáe or something?
I'm a little obsessed.
We'll get there. This
is not the first or last... Oh, okay, it is the first. It's not the last time she's going to be brought up in this podcast. That's actually the reason I even found the trailer. She retweeted it.
Nice.
And it was like her kind of looking weird because she was a doll and I didn't know what was going on from the thumbnail. And Steve Carell, and I clicked on the trailer and I was like, dude, this is awesome. I'm so excited.
I think she's trying to do the Childish Gambino thing where she does, like, acting and music at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And I've only seen really one thing she's been in, and she's a really pretty decent actress.
Nice.
And she had a voice too, so.
We've had, like, a lot of different types of Nazi movies. We've had, like, historical. We've had like Inglourious Bastards, which is like Grindhouse. We've had
Monuments Men, which was with George Clooney.
we have all kinds, but we haven't really had a feel good like
a comedy kind of one.
Yeah, but I don't want to say, like, feel good about Nazis. We're feeling good because we're not Nazis. Kind of movie.
Or, you know, kind of promoting the ideas, you know, that are really prevalent right now with, like, equality and, like, making sure that that's actually something that people are, like, experiencing and talking about that in a really big way, I would say, like, is what's been happening recently. So that movie will probably do a lot to spark that conversation further, hopefully.
Another element that's, like, topical to it is it's showing 5 women that are helping him through this, and, like, strengths that women have that are not, like, a girl version of a man character, which we see a lot when women roles are written. A lot of times they're like, we're just gonna make them have man traits, and it's gonna be in a female body. You're not wrong, but, like, with this movie, it looks like they're bringing their own strengths that are feminine, and they're not. Some of them not as much, but they're all coming together to help this man out, and it looks like if it's too sad, I might cry, but it's also it looks really good.
It looks really good.
I will say in 2018, it's hard to have a different take on Nazis, and so I'm really glad that they're doing it.
Yeah.
Quick little run through of some music news really fast. Beyonce and Jay-Z dropped an album out of nowhere about a week ago called Everything Is Love, with a music video with a name I'm not sure if I could say or not, so I'm not going to. I don't know if I've cussed already.
You have.
It's called Ape Shit. And it's set in the Louvre. You guys said you haven't seen it. Have you seen, like, any GIFs or anything of it?
I did see one. Yeah, I've seen. I saw one. It was like, I think she was, like, moving her dress around or something. But it's like when you're trying to fold a fitted sheet.
Oh yeah.
She's just, like, throwing her dress around or something.
Yeah.
But that was pretty funny. But that's all I've really seen of it. I've heard a lot of people, like, complain about the album not being accessible since it was only exclusive to Tidal for, like, a week, and a lot of people get really up in arms about that. But, you know, if you like art,
it's their company. I mean,
yeah, it's their company, so support their art.
If anyone's gonna do it,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Jay-Z fan, and I like most of Beyonce's music, but not all of it. But I haven't listened to it without watching the video. I watched the video twice. That's the only time. So audibly with the video, it's really good. And the music video is so beautiful. It's shot in the Louvre. They had really good imagery of 2 big things that stuck out to me was having, like, black bodies in traditionally white spaces. They had women, I think it was mostly women, take up the whole staircase doing this choreography in, like, nude colored clothing. dancing in a museum that most of the art in there, if it's made by a person of color, it's usually British stealing something or the French stealing something, because that's what they did for a while.
Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
the Louvre is a very it's very one of the most popular museums in the world, but at the same time, it's a very European museum. It doesn't really incorporate a lot of other things, so that's really cool that they're having that.
A lot of museums are like that, like art museums, but the Louvre is one of those that is seen as like who people follow trends based off of, like the Louvre and the Met and stuff. So to see them in that was really cool. And Beyonce with the white dress in front of the statue she was.
Yeah.
That statue is of Nike, the goddess of victory, and she's talking about everything great that she's done and the record label and her music and coming so far in your life, from the bottom to the top. It was really cool. Like, honestly, any cool badass woman in front of that statue dancing and singing would have been cool, but it was Beyonce. She's like the one, right? That a lot of people see. Okay, individual opinions. Like, she's not my favorite music artist,
but she's definitely iconic, and
for sure.
She's she's a legend and an inspiration for many people. I personally have issues when she doesn't use her voice to belt all the time. Do you have that kind of voice? Why aren't you just belting all the time?
You don't want to have an Adele situation.
I would love.
I was gonna say, what's wrong with an Adele?
No, she's great. No, she heard her voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she did.
That's no
she
good.
heard her voice.
Just belt all the time, please.
Selective belting, in my opinion, because we want her voice to last.
Well, I'm a Broadway girl, so I mean,
Yeah, but Broadway is such a small part of a lot of people's lives. Like, a lot of people don't go their whole life through it because it does take a toll on your body physically. And she's had a baby, and that changes your body.
Yeah.
There's so many things that happen. She started when she was in her teenage years, and she's in her 30s now. She's gotta calm down if she wants to keep her voice. On the website, we have a review on Dirty Computer. If you want
by
to check
Janelle
that out.
Monáe.
I don't want to say that it's a good article written by a really nice person that you're hearing, but it is. Hey, no. And then something that we don't have on the website right now, but I know that both you guys have listened to, is the new Panic at the Disco album.
Yeah, we have differing opinions on it, and I feel like that's kind of this album.
Let me kick it off so that we kind of end it on a more positive note, because you have more positive feelings about it than I do. But so, obviously Panic's track record has been a little bit, scattered, I would say, over the past few years.
Agreed.
And as members left and as Brendan Urie kind of just made it his own thing, I rooted for him and I stayed and stuck through a lot of it. And, a lot of it's still really solid material, but, Death of a Bachelor was a really, really, really amazing album. It was a really good album from front to back, from, start to finish, just a really solid thing. And then, obviously I expected Brendan to kind of switch things up this time around, and he didn't really do that on a lot of levels. And on a lot of levels, he really just made things that were less interesting and kind of took advantage of similar production techniques and similar sounds as the last album without making them as appealing on the second go around here. And that was my general thing. And I love Panic at the Disco, so I was really disappointed to kind of hear a lot of the tracks on here and just not really be satisfied with them.
So I will say, coming off of Death of the Bachelor, which in my opinion is their best album to date.
That's a big one. But
it's nearly
that's a big one, but I'll give you that.
I think it's a near perfect album, and so I knew it's not near as good as Death of the Bachelor, and I feel like it's an album of two albums where half of the songs I could take it or leave it, they're not anything special, but there are a couple of songs. I think High Hopes is a good one, and then Dying in LA, which is completely really different than what they've done in the past, where it's more of a slow ballad. I would have liked to see more of that. So I think there are some songs that are really good, some songs just take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But this is definitely, I feel more of a Brendan album than it is a Panic at the Disco album, if that makes any sense.
It's kind of the trend that has been happening.
Well, and more than anything, High Hopes was a solid track, but even then, it just has nothing against something like, the single Death of a Bachelor from that album. It's just, it doesn't have the charisma, it doesn't have the, the charm that last album did, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't stick well with me.
I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm still gonna listen to it, but like I'm kind of concerned that you just said that it rides off another album, because the thing that I love about Panic! At the Disco, I know it loses
Is
some
that
fans.
they don't.
Yeah.
Every album is like almost a complete genre switch.
Yep.
It kind of, to me, I feel like he recorded from start to finish, recorded this while he was doing Kinky Boots on Broadway.
Potentially, yeah.
Because it has a little bit of
Sounds
like
rushed.
Rushed vibe.
Like
it's a little New York-y to me, which doesn't really make sense unless you're a big Broadway person.
Yeah.
And he kept trying to use some of the Broadway techniques that he used on Death of a Bachelor, which set it apart from the other ones, on this one. But it wasn't to the same full extent because he was probably also doing Kinky Boots. And so, yeah, I would say...
like Sloppy Seconds?
It feels like these songs were like...
B-sides from Death of a Bachelor that didn't make it. Like, these didn't make the cut, and so here, I've been on Broadway working on Kinky Boots, but the label says, hey, we gotta put something out. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, but some songs are pretty solid, I think.
I feel like I should say, Brandon Urie, if you happen to be hearing this, I didn't mean it. Let me come to a concert.
Yes.
I don't care
Still
if
a
it's
big
your
fan of
song.
yours.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's just...
it's disappointing.
And lots of other people, I'm sure, will love it. Like, I'm sure people will hear this album and they'll love what it has to offer, and that's totally cool, too. But just as a, like I said, as a fan that really enjoyed the previous album, I just feel that way about the newest one.
Definitely.
Only, like, I guess real passion fans, like you guys are, could say that and not,
we have the stuff to
be
back
mean
it up.
about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people could be mean about it and be like, just say they're trash now. No, just because you put one bad album out, even if it's like under issues like it's being rushed or it's not invented from the previous album.
Yeah. I mean, it happened with 30 Seconds to Mars like a month ago.
It did.
So
it's a perfect time to say this. Some people aren't in the room. We have like two insanely.
I know. Is it Justin and Troylin?
Yeah, they love 30 Seconds to Mars.
I mean,
I like them, but like.
No, they love the last album.
America's not that good.
Well, I mean,
the album.
The album.
Yeah, I mean that's just how I feel, I guess.
Okay, and the last thing for our drop the signal segment. You want to give us a little teaser on your Warped Tour material?
Yeah. So I'll be covering the very last Vans Warped Tour, which is very sad experience for everybody involved, I would say. It may not necessarily be the very last one in Houston or anywhere else, but it is the last full cross-country tour. So it's the last time that they'll be taking artists to all these different cities all across the country. It is possible that we could see a much smaller scale Warped Tour in the future with only major cities. So maybe you would see like one major city of each state instead of having a Dallas, Austin, and Houston Warped Tour. You might just have a Dallas Warped Tour where everybody can flock up there and check it out if they want to go. If not, then it might be a bust. But yeah, July 8th is going to be the final Warped Tour in Houston potentially. So if you don't already have a ticket and you want to check it out, totally go. Some really great bands are going to be there. Simple Plan will be there. Bowling for Soup will be there.
Oh my God.
Every Time I Die will be there. They are Warped Tour legends.
Yeah.
All kinds of really great artists. Some of my personal favorites are going to be The Used, Movements, Trash Boat. Just a lot of really cool, awesome bands on the come up. So please go check out Warped Tour. Tickets are pretty cheap. I think they're like $45 or $50. So
for like a whole day.
For the whole day of music, yeah. So just keep up with that.
And on our website, probably by the time you're listening to this, there is a playlist that Miles put together of
all of the different artists that are going to be playing specifically at the Houston date. Since the lineup is a little bit different at each date, I wanted to kind of cater to the specific artists that are going to be playing here. So if you want to get kind of amped up about the show, check out that playlist, listen to it. If you're interested in checking out some of the other artists, maybe you've never heard of them before, it is totally hand curated and hand picked. So I did pick all the songs based on kind of like which ones I thought were cool or interesting.
So if you hate the song, don't hate the artist.
Yeah,
Miles would be disappointed in Miles.
Yeah, that's totally acceptable if you want to be not cool with my picks, but they're pretty solid.
Okay, so one of the last things we're going to talk about today, just kind of go through our Out and About in H-Town segment. I'll let you know things that are coming up in Houston. So, Emily, do you want to tell us what's happening this weekend?
Yes, this weekend at the Alley Theater on Saturday, June 30th, there will be a play, Watson and Holmes, performing. It is at 8 p.m. and tickets are $26. And then on the same night, it's June 30th, the Houston Symphony is having their Summer Symphony Nights at the Miller Outdoor Theater at 8:30 p.m. and it is a free event.
If you want the ticketed seating, check on the Miller Outdoor website. It's still free, but you gotta reserve the seats. I think you can get up to like 3 or 4 seats reserved. But if you want to sit on the hill, which is a giant hill, you could bring food and stuff. You just show up early, like an hour.
Yeah. And then on Sunday, July 1st, a craft beer cart in Houston is having a Mario Kart 64 League. It'll be at 4 p.m. and tickets are $3.
All right, and so that was this weekend. Next weekend, we have, so Friday, that's July the 6th. There's going to be a classical tributes tour, a tribute to the Beatles at 7:30 p.m. And that's going to be at the Jones Hall in Houston. And at the same venue the next day, so that's Saturday, July 7th, they're going to have the music from Final Fantasy at the Jones Hall at the same time, 7:30, and the tickets start at $29. Both, if you are interested at all, like, go buy your tickets right now. That way, if you want to sit right next to somebody, and also because ticket prices fluctuate a little bit, and every event that I've been at the Jones Hall that has been similar to this, pop concerts and movies, get really packed. So.
Gotcha. And then coming up on Sunday of that weekend, July 8th, we've got the Warped Tour, which will be at NRG Park. Like I said earlier, tickets go for around $40 to $50. It's been happening for about 23 years, and this will be the last Warped Tour ever, so make sure you get your tickets if you've never been. Definitely experience it before it's over. Another thing going on the same day, we have a Houston Halal Food Truck Festival, which is going to be held at the Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that's free. You just have to go pay for the food that you buy at the food trucks, obviously. But should be a really good time. Should be lots of delicious food there.
So those are very specific dates, times, and dollar amounts for things happening in Houston. If you just want to kind of stay closer at home and go to the movies, there's still, like we said, Ocean's 8 and The Incredibles are still out. We have Tag.
Jurassic World.
Yeah, Tag and Jurassic World. And then coming out in the next 2 weeks, on Friday the 29th, Sicario 2 comes out. And I've heard really good things about the first one. I gotta watch that before I watch
I
the
still
second one.
haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of a movie that just flew under the radar, and
Exactly,
then Sicario 2 came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, if
Yeah.
there's another one, I need to watch the first one.
I didn't know it did well enough to like.
Well, the trailer looks really interesting for the second one. So when I saw the trailer the first time, I was really, caught off guard, and I was like, oh, well, what is this? And then, of course, it shows, Sicario 2, Day of the Soldado. And I was like, well, I like Benicio del Toro, and I never saw this first Sicario, but I guess I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah.
Was kind of my thoughts. And, yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff about it, too. So that's coming up.
Also, July 4th, if you like the Purge movies, the first Purge is July 4th. I wrote a note that I was laughing about because it comes. Anyways, so the first Purge comes on July 4th. If you're not seeing fireworks, you can go see
The first
a
Purge.
bloodbath on the film. On the film screen.
Those movies are exactly why I have a movie pass. Those are the kind of movies where you're like, yeah, I'll chance it. Like it's kind of like Russian roulette almost for movies. But
Oh goodness.
That weekend, Ant-Man and the Wasp come out, as well as Sorry to Bother You. Ant-Man and the Wasp, we kind of already know about.
Super excited.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry to Bother You, I believe, is that Tessa Thompson?
I believe so, yeah.
Tessa
It looks really
Thompson,
interesting.
Steven Yeun.
There's a lot of really good names in it. I forget.
Glenn from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, there are some really
I
great.
just remember Tessa Thompson was on Veronica Mars and she was irritating, and so I haven't really gotten over that.
Did you not see Thor Ragnarok?
I did, and all I could think about is how annoying she was
on Netflix. Watch it.
No, I have. I've seen it, and I'm like, she was on Veronica Mars.
Tessa Thompson's awesome.
But that's,
Yeah,
I mean,
you've got Armie Hammer, Tessa Thompson,
Oh, I do love
Lakeith
Armie
Stanfield, Steven Yeun, Danny Glover, Terry Crews, David Cross. A lot of really awesome names in this
Terry
movie.
Crews, my heart.
This is the one where the guy learns the secret to telemarketing, right, by using the white voice.
No, I don't know
Yeah.
anything about it. I just know
Okay,
who's in it.
so it's a movie about a guy who lives in kind of a dystopian future, and he finds the secret to basically being a telemarketer, and it's by using this white guy voice. So the main character is actually using David Cross's voice throughout a lot of
That's
the movie
hilarious.
as a telemarketer, but it looks really funny.
Is it Sorry to Bother You?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it looks like a really, really good movie. I'm really excited actually to see it. That's what I was reacting so strongly to when you got to the Ant-Man. I'm very excited about Ant-Man and the Wasp as well, but Sorry to Bother You looks like a really, really good movie, and I think it's one of those movies that'll unfortunately probably be really underrated and kind of swept under the rug.
So if you can't see Ant-Man and Wasp because you have to watch it with your significant other, your family, go see Sorry to Bother You that weekend.
Somehow you haven't seen Avengers 2.
Yeah. Well,
Or Avengers 3.
Avengers 3,
Whatever
there
it
you go.
was.
well,
Avengers Infinity War.
yeah, if you haven't seen that, because I know they're going to do a tie-in, don't watch it.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that, honestly, like, in about 2 minutes after this video ends, you go watch yours. And then July 13th, we have Hotel Transylvania 3 coming out. Massive movie. And then in this movie, they're going on a cruise. And it looks silly and it looks fun.
It's a really funny film.
Yeah, it
This
looks like a good-
franchise. I think it's slowly, it's like a nice wholesome family film,
Yeah.
but there's still like jokes that like only like adults are gonna get.
Exactly.
So
It's just a solid animated movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
should be exciting.
Again, thank you so much for coming on, Miles and Emily. This is the Signal Podcast, and thank you for listening.
Bye.